Sage, where your sage, Melania Johnson, enjoys herself as she runs her mouth about all things woman. My mom always said, women are the most powerful beings on the planet. They just don't know it. Well, I'm here to help you to know it. Put on your big girl panties because we're going deep. I'll talk about it all. Now let's go claim your sovereignty, shall we? Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the Sovereignty Sage. I'm your Sage Coach Melania Johnson, and today I'm gonna get right to it because we're talking about restlessness, right? We're talking about those folks who have a restless spirit. I'm going to frame this conversation in terms of it being one of the saboteurs. I practice the PQ intelligence or positive intelligence mental fitness practice. And what it does, it just helps us to identify some of these saboteurs that hijack us, right? And the restless saboteur is one of those saboteurs. And if you're tired of not being satisfied, feeling that you're overly busy, and again, just a sense of your busyness is not a satisfying feeling. You feel like you're chasing and you're always bored. Then this conversation is for you today. This saboteur in particular, let me frame this way too. All the saboteurs exist to try to protect us from something, right? The hypervigilant saboteur tries to protect us from, unknown issues or problems or threats. The restless saboteur strategy is to seek constant excitement. Right, you're never really satisfied with this moment. You're constantly seeking pleasure and self nurturing, so to speak. And this saboteur could have developed early in your life, where maybe you didn't receive, or didn't grow up in maybe a nurturing type of environment, or as nurturing as you need it. Again, I'm not trying to, slam parents because it's a hard job, right? I don't think anybody is perfect at that job, right? And there's always some sort of casualty in all of us when it comes to our childhood to some extent, right? And so, this saboteur really tries to avoid uncomfortable feelings, right? And painful feelings or circumstances it wants to escape. So this saboteur is the escape artist. It's always trying to help you to escape uh, something that is not comfortable, so to speak. And how it does it is that you feel that it's necessary to constantly be busy, right? You're always, I kind of liken it to a drug. You're always chasing the next, the next idea, the next exciting move, the next project, the next relationship, the next career move or the next job. It's always the next. We're never here in the presence. And some of the characteristics of this saboteur is that you're easily distracted, you can be scattered. Sometimes you're always busy juggling too many things. That's a sign, right? And you're seeking excitement and not really seeking comfort, right, or stability. And when we talk about these saboteurs, now here's the thing: everything has a positive until it's not. What happens is that if things become out of balance, then it's no longer a positive in our lives. So when our restlessness makes us jump from one project to the next without finishing the last project because maybe it's become too difficult or because we lost interest, and we tell ourselves, well, you know what, there's always something else that I can be doing, or you want to avoid the discomfort that is in that particular situation, so you jump to the next situation. So you're trying to avoid uncomfortable feelings, and this causes a need for constant stimulation. So, in terms of if you again want to identify, is this something that's going on with you? You know, the feeling is that you're never fulfilled. There's constant boredom. People can't keep up with you. You're not, you're never satisfied, and very impatient sometimes in the present moment. And you justified this by, life is too short. You got to do it all, right? The constant FOMO, fear of missing out, is your anthem, so to speak. But this all has an impact on you, and it has an impact on your relationships. When it comes to the impact on you, who wants to go through life always not satisfied, always bored, always looking for the next thing to do, never being comfortable in the present moment? And that kind of energy, that restless energy, it impacts the people in your life, whether you're managing a group of a team, or whether it's family or friends. They can sense that you never are present. They can sense your energy of boredom, which makes them feel like they're a deficit, like I can't hold your attention, or that I have to work even harder to get your attention and to hold your attention, which is exhausting for them and not satisfying for them. Because really, who wants to be in a relationship that you feel that you're always insufficient, right? And that's how people feel who are in relationships with you. They feel frenzied and chaotic energy from you. And when you cannot plant firm roots anywhere, then it's really difficult to build anything sustainable: a career, a job, a relationship, right? Everything is transient. I remember many years ago reading a story about Ursula Burns, who is the former CEO of the Xerox company. And, it's a high-powered position. And she was very frank in this interview, and she shared that, she had a great village to help support her in raising her children. And here's the truth: all women need a village. It's everyone needs support in this very important role, and especially when you are in a working woman, and also in a leadership position, right? It requires a lot. And I remember her telling this story in this interview where she shared that when she goes to her daughter's or her child's baseball games, she uses that time to do like crossword puzzles, or I can't remember, some sort of game, and I remember thinking to myself, that's really kind of unfortunate that she could not in that moment just focus on the game and her child and the environment around her, right? Because if you go to a live sporting event, one of the fun things about the sporting event are the fans, right? They're all excited. They're yelling, they're screaming. During the lulls, you get to know who was sitting next to you. And I think that's a part of the experience. And she was missing out on that. Now, mind you, this is one story and one snippet of time. But I think it is an example that all of us can learn from, and some of us might see ourselves in this example, right? It was an awesome opportunity to tune into your kid and the people on their team. Wow, did you see, Estelle today? She hit a home run. Wow, she's really improved over the years. These are conversations that you're having with your kid. Wow, looked like Billy was having a really tough day today. What was going on with him? Right? We're not connecting with the people around us, including our family members. And when we feel that we must be and do a million things at one time, we're never present in the moment and we miss out on life. You know, again, I'm not questioning her motherhood. I'm not questioning that. I'm just questioning sometimes, do we forfeit the joy and simplicity of some of the most mundane things in our lives because we're always on to the next, because we have a restless syndrome. And I think part of the culprit of this is this idea that we're supposed to be these ingenious multitasking. Well, the truth is, and there are studies out there that show that that's not the way the brain functions. The brain functions with one task at a time. And when you ask it to multitask, it's still only concentrating on one task at a time, but is doing it poorly because you keep interrupting flow to move to something else, to do that poorly, to move to something else, to do that poorly, to go back to what you were doing. And that's how we're living our lives. So, how do you overcome this? Well, I think the first thing that you have to do is recognize there's a problem. You have to tune into yourselves. In order for us to make any kind of substantial change in the areas that bring us pain, we have to dial in. And it's going to be difficult for the restless soul because it is your habit, your mental habit, to run, to go to the next, to bypass any uncomfortable feelings, any feelings of boredom, any feelings of disconnection, and go on to something else that maybe seems more exciting, right? But here's the rub. Then you go to the next thing, and here comes ennui, right? As the French say, the boredom. Here comes the boredom. Here comes the difficulties that you're going to have to figure out. The mundane always enters our life in some way. And if you cannot enjoy some of those simple things, and you find that you're in a constant state of dissatisfaction, that is a signal to you that maybe you need to take a pause. And so, in order to pause, you need something that breaks up that neural path, that mental habit that you have of restlessness and going on to the next thing. You have to be honest with yourself. And sometimes that means enduring a little bit of torture, right? Because instead of finding the next project, you're going to commit to finishing this one. Instead of chucking the relationship because it's not as exciting as you think it should be, or it's not delivering in the way, you might decide to explore, to become inquisitive, to take this as a time to get to know yourself a little bit better and what your needs are, and being able to express them to someone in whom with you are in relationship with. So you have to, in order to change, you have to pay attention to you. You have to pay attention to, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and what your habits have shown you in the past. And sometimes that requires a second. And that's where the positive intelligence practice comes in, because it gives you a second. Instead of hopping to the next thing or raising your hand for the next project, you might then just stop and take a breath or two. Just breathing deeply a few times for a few seconds helps you to pause so that you can say, why? So you can start to ask yourself questions, right? You can tune in to what I call the mundane things in life, like enjoying a meal, really tasting your food, sitting and actually chewing your food, enjoying the flavors. Many people overeat because they're distracted while they're eating. They're watching TV, they're on their computers, they're on their phones, right? They're eating while driving. They're doing all of these things. And food is yes, it sustains us, but it's one of the pleasures in life too, when you eat a good meal. And when you are present, you can pay attention to when your body says, I've had enough. I'm full. But when you are distracted, your brain, you can't hear your brain giving your body that message. So you continue to eat. And that's why some folks have weight issues. Going for a walk in the park and just being present in that moment, not with your earbuds in, not while talking on the phone, but just really, can you hear the birds? Can you hear children's laughter? Can you hear the sounds of a swing set, a child on a swing? Can you hear a dog barking at a squirrel running up a tree? Those moments, can you see the green or the new flowers, or can you just appreciate that moment? Tuning in on the people who are in your life while you're in conversation with them, looking them in the eye, looking at their mouths, looking at their expression, taking a moment to listen, to put down your devices and to not be thinking about the next thing that you have to do, but to be in this moment, because that's where we build connection. That's what builds satisfaction in our lives. When these small things, see, we chase after the big game, right? The big prize. When I do this, I will feel fulfilled or excited or whatever. Yeah, but how often do those big things happen? A better strategy is to find enjoyment in the little things that we do on a daily basis. So if I can build in deeper levels of satisfaction, I can enjoy my food. I can be present while I take a shower or a bath and be grateful for the fact that I have hot water, or that I have the time to take a luxurious bath, or I have the time to cook a fresh meal, or enjoy the company of a friend or a relative or your child or your spouse or your significant other. These are the moments that you build into your day, little things that bring you joy and satisfaction. I would rather live a satisfying day after day after day than to chase after some big thing that maybe even after I accomplish, it still doesn't bring me any joy. So the intervention is before take that next move, or, do a PQ rep, stop and take a few breaths. I do that. Breathing is my go-to, because the anxiety that fuels some of my saboteurs, and make no mistake, it's anxiety that fuels the restless saboteur. The anxiety that fuels these saboteurs, right? They need something to break that train of thought that spirals us into being hijacked. So again, it could be breathing, It could be something tactile, like rubbing your fingers together or touching something, right, that takes you out of that moment. It could be auditory. It could be listening to something in your environment, a faraway sound, a nearby sound, and concentrating on that just for a few minutes. It could be visual, looking at something very deeply just for a few minutes. That few minutes gives you just enough time to go, this is a familiar path that I'm on. But I know that this path, this restless path, this jumping from one thing to the next thing to the next thing doesn't bring me satisfaction. So, what in this moment can I do differently? Maybe the answer to that new project or that new hobby or that new relationship is no. You can then start to ask yourself questions, right? Because when we start to use our logic, we then are escaping the emotional uh, luggage that we're sometimes carrying. So, if discomfort or restlessness is driven by boredom or driven by a lack of dissatisfaction, those emotions make us want to escape. So, that's when you start to ask yourself if you can get out of that emotion, lift yourself out of that emotion, and start to become curious and ask yourself a couple of questions. What am I trying to escape right now? Maybe I'm trying to, I've bitten off a project, and maybe I'm trying to escape the fact that I need to have deeper learning in order to really complete this, or I need to change a strategy, or or I didn't need to do this project at all. And what area are you trying not to grow? Right? Because when we resist the impulse to flee to the next thing and to the next thing and to the next thing, we're also fleeing an opportunity to grow. You can ask yourself, what discomfort am I trying to avoid? Again, thinking that the saboteurs are always trying to keep us safe. What is this saboteur? What is this restless saboteur trying to protect me from? You can ask yourself, what is behind my constant dissatisfaction? What is it trying to tell me? What power is it diverting me from? These are some of the things that you can do that might help you to break the hijacking that occurs when we make decisions that support and give power to the saboteurs that hijack us. So, with that being said, it's time for a shameless plug, right? Be Smart Coaching. This podcast is sponsored by Be Smart Coaching. Be Smart Coaching is a leadership development practice offering behavioral and personality assessments, coaching, training, and facilitation, change management. And I am launching a women's leadership mastermind program. And I said because Be Smart Coaching is my company. In life, you can either work hard or you can work smart. I suggest you work smart. That came from my mother, Margie B. Smart. And I help people in leadership positions work smarter, not harder. So, for your leadership development needs, please consider Be Smart Coaching. And with that being said, if you are serious about addressing some of the saboteurs that are hijacking you, we're coming into a new year, and I'm encouraging you to start fresh. I, through my company, Be Smart Coaching, I offer a 6-week mental fitness program, and this program is not fluffy. Okay, it is steeped and designed using neuropsychology, cognitive behavioral psychology, positive psychology, and performance science. So, this is built in something that really helps you to make lasting, sustainable change so that you can become happier, that improve your mental fitness, and as well as become more resilient in life, right? So, in this 6 week program, and it is intense, folks. And so, if you're really serious, let's chat. In the program, you will be using an amazing app to track progress and exercises to help you build your mental fitness muscle on a daily basis. Mental fitness is not something that you do on an occasion, but it is something that is intentional that you apply every day of your life. There's weekly group coaching. There's a cohort of 5 participants, women who are also interested in making some fundamental changes in their lives. That group coaching session is facilitated by me. There is a digital copy of the best-selling book, Positive Intelligence by Shirzad Chamine, who is the founder of this amazing practice, and more. I encourage you. My goal is to have launch a cohort in January. Please follow up with me. I'd love to share more about this practice and learn more about your personal goals. So let's move to today's quote. Restlessness is discontent, and discontent is the first necessity of progress. Show me a thoroughly satisfied man, and I will show you a failure. That quote came from Thomas Edison. And you know what? I disagree with it. I think that, and somebody, well, you got a beef with Thomas Edison. Hey, I'm happy for the light bulb. I'm happy that I can see at night. So no, Thomas Edison did his thing and we're all grateful for it. But I disagree with this kind of mindset because I think it's this type of thinking that causes the pathology that we live now. Western society believes and endorses a lack of peace, constant struggle, demonizes rest, restoration, and satisfaction. So one must ask themselves, is a life that is void of peace and rest and satisfaction worth living? If your life is bereft of peace and joy and satisfaction, what is the point? If you establish or if you're able to accomplish great things, but there is no joy on the journey, no joy in reaching the destination, and you leave the planet today, is that a successful life? What are you measuring success by? I truly believe that life is to be savored and enjoyed and lived fully. That doesn't mean that you can't have multiple interests. It doesn't mean that you can't be creative. It doesn't mean any of those things. The problem comes when it is no longer in balance, when anxiety and negative feelings are fueling and driving your actions. That's when the problem starts. Restlessness and trying to solve restlessness for yourself can feel addictive, right? Let me get the next high, the next new thing that to start, the next moment that is excitement, the next relationship, right? Let me just chase after that feeling. You're always seconds away from chasing the next high, so to speak. And that's not satisfying in the least way. I think, again, if you can find enjoyment in some of the mundane things that we do that sustain your life, if you can find some joy in some of the rituals that we perform daily to sustain ourselves and to create a safe and happy environments, that is also worth your time and attention. I think we live in a society that promotes unhealthy unhealthy expectations and unhealthy habits that are not good for our mental well being. So, that first part that we did talked about our individual sovereignty, claiming our power back on an individual level. But I always think that we need to then move our lens from ourselves and move it to the collective sovereignty. Women across this planet are not necessarily faring well. And if one woman is suffering, that means that we're all suffering on some level, right? That woman may have a child that doesn't have what it needs. That woman may not have the access to health care that she needs, or the access to working and education that she needs to help to build a strong community. We are a community, folks. And so I like to highlight organizations that we can support. One is the National Women's Law Center here in the States. They've been around since 1972. They say they have given voice to women's rage, turning hurried whispers into desperate shouts and finally into a rallying cry for justice and change. They have championed causes that protect women's fertility rights, increase the number of women hired in terms of federal construction contracts. They have had lawsuits that have protected women from pregnancy discrimination as well as pay discrimination. And abortion rights advocacy. They have gone up against insurance companies, and we've been hearing about that a lot here lately in the United States with the execution of the CEO of United Health, right? But this company went to blows legally for the rights of LGBTQ couples who were discriminated against for seeking fertility treatments. So I ask you, what is your radical act, right? Personal or collective? This is a revolution. This is a movement. Movements require and have been successful using mass demonstrations, petitions, court battles, just like the National Women's Law Center, the establishment of international women's organizations and supporting them. So find an organization in your community, in your state, in your country, internationally, that you can support. So, what individual evolutionary act and collective revolutionary act are you going to support or start? Every time I believe a woman unite, every time we unite, the world gets better for everyone. So, with that, I'm going to sign off. I have run my mouth enough for one day. I hope that something that I said today resonated with you and puts you on the track to help curb your restless soul and to find deeper levels of satisfaction in everything that you do, in your work, in your family, and friends, relationships, in your hobbies, in your career. And if you did find something that I said that was of value to you, please subscribe to my YouTube channel or my Facebook group, and share with other women who could benefit from today's topic. Click notifications so that you know when I go live or when I post. So I thank you for your time, your consideration, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for joining me this week. Come back next week at 12 noon. I'm live on YouTube. Love to see you. Maybe we can have a chat. Take care. See you next week.